Y'all, I don't care what none of y'all claim. Diddy is in that jail spiraling down. Do you realize he's now insisting to subpoena and inspect Cassie's financial statements, bro? For why all you're going to observe is your kid's savings accounts and your kid's education funds in her bank account. What is transpiring? Diddy needs to relax. First he wants the Cassie footage extracted. Okay, talking about he notices contradictions. Bro, that is literally called fuzzy 2016 footage. Cease it. Second of all, second of all, he is now striving to subpoena all her documents cause he wants to examine every single cent she gained. Listen to this. Diddy wants my book, my monetary records. Listen, and they're petitioning that the judge tell Diddy to go kick some rocks. Cassie says Diddy is prying around, insisting she reveal her bank statements and a publication she composed about him, and he wants the judge to put the kibosh on his legal request. First of all, I have my thoughts on this, but let's get to the core of what Cassie is declaring, because Denny got some GD nerve. They said according to fresh court filings, Cassie is striving to get to court to revoke subpoena. She claims she was served by Diddy's legal crew. She says Diddy sent her a subpoena ordering she turn over all draft books, autobiographies, stories, diaries, journals or notes, and any messages about plans to release or threaten to release such a document. What's more, Cassie also claims Diddy ordered she surrender her financial records. Hold on y'all, they said. Now here's the real twist, right? They said, what's more, Diddy demanded bank documents. Because get this, Diddy assumes like Cassie was persuaded to sue him, and he now wants her financial records in order to validate that this was all some massive plot, that she never felt like she was trafficked, she never felt like she was this, she never felt like this. There was somebody significant behind her that made a large payment to her in order for her to go in and tell quote unquote lies about him. I told y'all Diddy was spiraling down because, if that's the situation, Diddy, then what did you do to justify this? What did you do? Why are they doing that? If that's the scenario, why would anybody remunerate this much money? You can't argue it's because they want to bring all black billionaires down, because forget about the people in the music industry. There's quite a few black billionaires in America, but they sustain their composure. Anyway, source Cassie also claims Diddy ordered her surrender her financial records. The subpoena is fascinating on a couple levels, because earlier in Diddy's case, one of his lawyers, Mark Acanilio, claimed Cassie had told Diddy she'd written a book about him that he could capture and stop for $30 million. Okay, but if that is true and he paid the $30 million because of that under the agreement you did, what didn't you acquire a copy of the autobiography and everything? So what are you furious about? And if Cassie provided a copy with the federal government, that doesn't violate the NDA. So what are we actually doing? I believe the book and stuff is just like some type of distraction. And I genuinely do believe that Diddy is aiming to trap Cassie. I believe Diddy is aiming to trap Cassie and see what's happening for bank account. Again, Diddy is unbalanced. That's full. Mark Agnifilio claimed he said Jana back in September Cassie had her lawyer contact Diddy's lawyer on a recorded line, Jana informing him she had written a book about their relationship and she intended to publish it. He also claimed Cassie signaled to Diddy he could obtain the rights to the book for $30 million to prevent it from being printed. I know that's right, Cassie, you recognize your worth. They said the thing is, Mark Agnifilio claimed Diddy opposed the alleged proposal. He claims Cassie changed lawyers and her new agent told Diddy in November 2023 that the book was no longer pertinent because a civil sex suit was going to be filed. As you know, Cassie actually did that. Anyway, Cassie says his demands are premature and overly broad and she wants the court to nullify the whole thing. Now here's the real about what the legal commentators are expressing. Alright, hold on, okay, so here's what the legal commentators are expressing, because you know your girl had to find out. They're saying, 1, this is a ridiculous attempt, they did use the word ridiculous, of Diddy at ruining Cassie's trustworthiness. If Cassie composed a memoir and offered it for millions, Diddy's squad could argue that her accusation was financially driven or part of a broader extortion-style strategy. That doesn't really stand because you already compensated her the money, fool. And if she was extorting you, why didn't you report the authorities? I'm just saying they're probably searching for inconsistency between her public statements, the suit, and what she may have drafted in private in the memoir draft. Anyway, they said they're evaluating purpose and schedule. The bank records could display large transfers or disbursements that Diddy's team could utilize to suggest a financial incentive by a significant money backer, or a timeline that supports their narrative that she was using the threat of bad exposure via memoir or lawsuit as leverage. But you compensated. Listen, if Cassie was asking too 000 3000 5000 maybe Diddy this woman is look me in the eyes that leave the bugs and pests alone and look me in the eye, this woman you compensated over 10 million ain't a person in the world unless you are a Saudi prince the crown prince of Saudi Arabia paying 10 million just because, hush down Diddy. You literally got Little Rod getting your residence inspected allegedly because you owed that dude 50,000, you rather have gotten your home searched than pay 50,000, you can't persuade me that you just paid Cassie that just because. They're also creating a defense based on extortion. Diddy's attorneys previously suggested that Cassie requested 30 million to not disclose her story. If there's proof she was gaining from this narrative before the lawsuit, they could argue this was more about cash than justice, maybe until the federal officials got involved, and they're setting up for a possible counter-suit or a PR fight. Now this is the real thing. Okay, they stated this could be useful in a counter-lawsuit either for slander, breach of an NDA, or intentional infliction of emotional trauma. They could also release selective details to the press to portray Cassie as an opportunistic gold digger, a typical damage control strategy. They said this is about narrative control. This could injure Cassie if Diddy's team discovers conflicting statements or signs of financial incentive, and it could lessen Cassie's ethical position, public image. Even without a legal triumph, Diddy could utilize this to confuse the issue and make her appear like she was in it for the funds as settlement leverage. Right? Again, it could damage anyone that invested in accusations connected to Cassie's allegations. Again, maybe, but Diddy settled with Cassie and the federal officials picked up the accusations, and they don't just have Cassie, they have 5 other plaintiffs, so much so that you're so shocked that you're asking to freeze this and shift this to a different time. Y'all listen, are y'all okay with D? Listen, I'll just say one thing, Diddy is panicking, and just like Diddy has alleged offshore accounts and wire accounts, I'm fairly certain that if that Cassie did have a huge money supporter, and I don't think she did, that they wired it into a foreign account. I doubt anyone will be silly enough to wire into their Chase Manhattan account. On top of that, Diddy, you know that whole thing is just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not striving to set you up. Diddy, just because they might have set you up and I do not believe they did does not imply you're not accountable, and everything in the war is pointing to you being accountable. The only people that don't think you're accountable of this is Kanye West, I think. I don't even think Kanye just doesn't mind, and neither is the CBJ, so they're the only people that are willing to be like, I don't mind, I'll stand beside him. Y'all listen, let me know what you think in these comments, we'll keep you posted. I think the judge is going to dismiss this. Why do you? This is a federal case, not a civil case. You already settled with her. Why in the world would the administration give you? Like, it doesn't even make any sense on so many levels. Why would the government charge you? Anyway, y'all let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later.